You're strong.
I know.
It's okay. I've got you now.
Just like in the movies.
Welcome to Super Wonder Legacy. I'm Jared and I am here with Brit. What is going on?
Hello, hello.
And today we are discussing the TomorrowVerse because it wrapped up. And like Brit and I have said previously, this is the one universe that actually treated Wonder Woman with a modicum of respect as opposed to like the previous two, because the previous one turned into so the first one turned into a Batman simp, which we all hate. And then the second one started off good, then halfway through turned it into a mouthpiece for DC editorial.
Exactly. Just awful.
And then we get this one, which first off, the voice I was totally fine with, because remember, this is around the time where Gal Gadot is Wonder Woman, arguably one of the best live action Wonder Womans. But my point is, Gal Gadot is what sold me on the Wonder Woman can have an accent, because previously when Gal was cast, I wasn't against it. It's just I was more like, but Wonder Woman has an American accent. Remember, I was still in that like mindset. Then when I actually heard it, and when I actually think about it, I'm like, oh yeah, she would have an act. Even the comics, because if you're reading the Day in the Life of Wonder Woman, even Lois describes Diana as having an accent that's like a little bit Greek. So I'm like, okay, I can buy that. Then this comes out, JSA, and we'll talk about that when we get to JSA. And I'm like, okay, that works. That definitely works. So, Britt, how about you begin by explaining to the audience what the TomorrowVerse is?
All right, so the TomorrowVerse started after the Tuckerverse, DCAMU, and it very much short-lived, 10 movies, which we'll get into that it obviously was not supposed to be 10 movies. They wanted to do the Crisis film, Crisis on Infinite Earths. It was at first to I guess go with the live action of them trying to do Crisis on Infinite Earths. So and you also have the second Flashpoint. You know, Tuckerverse started with Flashpoint and it ended pretty much with Flashpoint. Or
that's true.
Yeah. So you start this new world, you know, you're building it, I guess, kind of halfway, introducing the characters again with the origin. It starts with the Superman, Man of Tomorrow, which is how the TomorrowVerse got its name. Then we have Justice Society, which was supposed to be a Wonder Woman movie solo, I guess. It was a Wonder Woman show, but they felt like it wasn't going to be successful, so they turned it into a Justice Society movie.
So we were close again to getting a Wonder Woman animated show. Is that what you're telling me right now, Britt?
Yes.
God damn it, WB!
Yeah, and then they have Batman Long Halloween,
which was
two-parter.
So good. I like when they divide the storylines into two parts if they're adapting a story, because then they can cover everything.
Yes. However, the downfall of that is basically you took up space. Like it could be a two-parter, but if you knew that you had like a limited time to tell the story that you really wanted to tell, you could have reduced a little bit of, you know, long Halloween. However, it's a Batman movie, so of course they're going to give Batman special treatment. So this is a two-parter. Matt Reeves, he actually wanted this story for the Batman, but you know, with all of that, they didn't want to have it twice, I guess, in live action and animated. So they were going back and forth, and I guess animation won out on this story. Then we have Green Lantern, Beware My Power, which is more of an origin story for John Stewart. I did not watch that, so but
Oh,
I heard it was
trust me.
bad.
I watched it. I have thoughts.
Um, yeah, I know Green Lantern fan, so I know you have thoughts. Then we have uh the Legion, which is an origin story for Supergirl, Kara. Then we have Justice League Warworld, which is very wonky at first. You really don't understand it, but they, try to bring in the multiverse in a very wonky way. Then we have the Crisis trilogy, which supposedly brings in everything together. It doesn't, but it does. So it's just it's kind of a mess and a lot of things done off screen, and you know how much we hate the off screen uh
Mm.
you know but yeah, it's very short lived, a lot of incomplete storylines, development. However, it did do some good, at least for Wonder Woman, though, and that's who we actually care about.
Yeah, exactly. So let's go with this. So the way we're going to structure this is for each movie, we're going to talk about the good and the bad. So for most of this, there's going to be a lot of good because you know what? I enjoyed most of these movies. Green Lantern's a little complicated. So Superman Man Tomorrow. Fun fact: I first saw this at DC Fandom. The first one they did a screening of Superman. So I
Oh,
watched it.
cool.
First thing I thought of the anime. Here's the problem with the TomorrowVerse, and I'll talk about this a little bit with the bad. The animation is a little rough.
Yes.
It's. But then again, with what Sam told me about DC animation not getting that big of a budget, I'm like,
Budget.
okay, I can buy that. But so with this, so basically, the idea of this movie is actually it's very close to New 52 Superman mixed with I think it's actually it's not Birthright. It's American Alien. American
Yeah,
Alien
American Alien.
by Max Landis. So here's the good. It captures the feeling of isolation that Superman had. So it's very much like New 52 Superman, which obviously I dig. And it's early career Superman, younger dude trying to find his way in the world. And it introduced a lot of cool characters like John Jones, Lobo. Lobo was fan-freaking-tastic in this. And they did a lot in this movie that I didn't think they'd be able to do. They even teased Batman when like Lois is doing like copies and there's a picture of it. So that's my thoughts on the good. Brit, what are some of the good points of this movie for you?
All right, so yeah, it was a younger Superman. He is a more of New 52 understanding that he is isolated, alone, and he's more so searching for, people like him than trying to fit in. And also they didn't rush, well, we'll get to that
Mm-hmm.
later, but they didn't rush a relationship with Lois. It was more just, it wasn't even a partnership. It was just them, the rivalry, I would say, and him just focusing, like I said, on his alienness and otherworldliness than what we're used to of like my adventure with Superman, that he's trying to just be human or whatever, and just following Lois around like a lovesick puppy or whatever. So yeah, that was the good of this movie. And like you said about the budget, when first seeing the trailer, I saw a lot of people saying that it looked like the Archer
Yeah,
um
yeah, it does.
animation, which every time I see the movies I think of Archer.
Yeah,
um
it'd be
but
hilarious if
hey,
it'd be hilarious if Archer actually did a cameo in Crisis.
but I mean, they did put like repeated character designs, or like
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah, there's
multiple.
like two Hawkmen at one point, but yeah, it's like for that. Once I got that from Sam, I was like, okay, you know what, I get it now, so I can look past that in order for a good story.
Right. So they pretty much started off really good. and this honestly should have been, as much as it's being influenced by the New 52, it should have been within the Tuckerverse than what they did
Honestly,
there.
yeah, I was about to say, because that was New 52 Superman. So let's talk about the bad. Lois Lane. Big surprise! She's so freaking annoying in this movie.
I think they they wanted her to be like the hard-nosed reporter, but at the same time, yes, Lois is annoying. She is she becomes too much, and I think that the voice actress, um, she has she's a great actress, but at the same time, I would say the squeakiness of her voice, it sounds kind of like a teenager more than, a woman in her that's like mid 20s or whatever. And yeah, I didn't like it because I don't like Lois anyway, but at least they didn't just force the romance thing. That's the only thing that's kind of like that's would be predictable in a Superman movie.
Well, also, again, it was New 52, because in that comic series, no matter what any revisionist tries to say on Twitter, that was more of a friendship that they went for. And you know what? That works. We're not saying cut Lois out of the story completely, but
Right.
it's the same thing with Steve Trevor. You just have to utilize the character properly, which I think she works better as a friend. All the things that people say Lois gives Superman can apply to friendship. It's like when they say, like, oh, Wonder Woman should be with Batman because she can be his therapist or something like that. And I'm like, he's best friends with Superman.
Right. And
It really annoys me, Brit.
right. And also just the fact of like you restart a verse,
Mm-hmm.
and this Tuckerverse was supposed to be of the younger New 52.
Mm-hmm.
But then you restart it and you go even younger,
I'm like,
restarting
not
with an origin.
again, not bad. And here's the other thing. By this point, we didn't know if this was connected to the DCAMU. That's the cool part, and that's where that's where like Crisis Part 1 blew my freaking mind.
Right, you didn't know. Well, when this was announced, and so many of the traditional Superman fans, they swore this was going to be Rebirth Superman. And it's kind of like and it's kind of like, okay, no, the ending of Tuckerverse, they were trying to force in that rebirth status quo minus John, but why would they honestly reboot and then go to rebirth? That would have been kind of lame.
Well,
But
she is
once we got,
Lois Lane, so that actually works with her name.
but my confusion is you had a younger verse and you just kind of like pushed forward a little bit too fast, and then started over with, that younger version again and another origin and trying to rebuild the Justice League. But then it's even worse. I would say it's worse with the Tomorrowverse because we didn't actually get the Prime Justice League. Like,
Technically, we did, but I see what you're saying. Not until much,
yeah,
much later, and
yeah,
I'll talk about that when we get to Green Lantern. But and the thing is, though, when I look at the overall movies and the overall story, particularly when we apply to Wonder Woman, it's actually, you know what, pretty freaking good. Speaking of Diana. So then we get Justice Society World War II. And this was the first movie, because originally I thought they were done with the whole shared universe thing. And then Superman shows up in this fighting alongside the Flash. I didn't really connect the same art style because they've done that before. So I was like, okay, now this is like a new continuity. This is cool. And then
right.
they kind of did Flashpoint, but didn't, which I kind of appreciate because it's too soon. Then we get the idea, and I gotta say, oh my gosh, what a fantastic version of Wonder Woman.
Yes.
That is my first like praise of this movie.
The fact that she was the leader and just being herself. She was still compassionate. She was still, that loving, Diana that we know, but the fierceness and the whole warrior thing, she she was fighting. But I am tired of the period pieces for Wonder Woman. Like, she should
Yeah,
be
me too.
modern day.
It's because they're playing off the whole she's immortal. But
Yeah, I
here's the thing. Yeah, I do agree with you because I think it would have been cool if in the Wonder Woman movies if any of the other leaguers showed up in them. And I'm just like, because here's the thing, and this is why I want a Patty Jenkins Wonder Woman 3, because by all indications, she would bring in Superman, and we would actually get Superman and Wonder Woman to actually interact in the DCEU. I still say eventually we'll get those DCEU movies, but my point is here, yeah, it's annoying, but here's the difference. Here's why this is a little better than the DCEU. At least there were other superheroes in this movie for her to interact with, even Superman.
right. Right. And the thing is, with this being a movie, it's supposed to be called Wonder Woman and the Justice Society.
Oh,
And then it was also supposed to be a show. So I'm thinking that, well, from an interview, they said that the reason why Wonder Woman didn't get an animated show was because they felt like I said, it was going to fail. But then when the first movie was such a success, they was like, oh, like, we screwed up. And it's like, yeah, you shot yourself in the foot. And then,
DC shot themselves in the foot. Gasp.
yeah, it's like, it's like, no sugar honey iced tea. And for anyone who wants to know what that means, get the first letters and put them together.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it's like you had this opportunity to really show the first lady of DC,
Of
as
superheroes, really. It's not Lois.
right. And so they pretty much forced it into this universe, which it works, but it still doesn't, because again, I'm tired of the period pieces for Wonder Woman. Even if you're playing with the immortality, Diana can still be in present day, but her, immortality goes forward from there.
Just say
Not
she's been
have
alive
her.
since ancient Greece. There you go. You're done.
Honestly,
But
I don't even care about that. I would rather her just be present day, and you have her, even 1,000 years like Kingdom Come did, or like, and we're going to come to that, Immortal Wonder Woman. She was still present day, but her life span went from present. I don't like because it feels like you're questioning, okay, what does she do for those other, decades? Does she go back to the island? Does she just sit
well, even the
around?
case of the movie, I'm like, you're telling me she hid during the whole World War II
Yeah,
rise of a certain ruler in Germany. What?
yeah. I mean, that of the civil rights movements, of just world events she sat through. I just really can't believe that. So for you to it really just takes away who Diana is. So like I said, she should be present day, and whether she is mortal to where she ages slowly like Clark does, or she is immortal, but it has to be present and beyond.
But here's the
Not
thing, Clark is immortal. As long as that sun remains
sun.
yellow, he's going to be immortal. Speaking of Clark, so in this movie, I didn't connect that Shakespeare was Clark until like the bulletproof thing. And then I'm like, oh, okay, that's actually really cool. And they kind of played with the origin a little bit. But I like how at first he's not, because he didn't get the Kents raising him. Yes, it's the Kents that make him Superman, not a certain lame reporter. Since he didn't get the Kents, he doesn't feel that sense of responsibility until he's inspired by his future girlfriend. And then I like with this, at first he can't fly. He's just jumping. See, the way they handled it in this movie is so fantastic. The way they handled how Superman was in the olden times.
Right. It is it's very much pure golden age Superman. He has that the the attitude, and to really bounce off Diana too. They bounce off each other, in that conflict of morality and his views, especially because he felt like he being an orphan, and having that way of hiding himself and just thinking that, oh, I just have thick skin, and it's like, no, you have these special abilities. And then at the end of the movie, for him to say, someone inspired me to say, I don't need to sit on the sidelines. And yeah, Diana, again, she was the leader, she was the inspiration for all of these other heroes. Then with the concept art of this being Wonder Woman and the Justice Society, to have Brainiac in there, so that there were different ideas, and it really feels like this was going to be Wonder Woman led, Superman being like her support. But if you have Wonder Woman against Brainiac, that's really cool too. She's not the support for a Superman show or movie. It's
Well,
it's turning it all on its head.
unless you're unless you're a certain universe that's a shelter.
Right.
I had to. But anyway, but yeah, my thing is with this is like, it seems like in the TomorrowVerse, in the Earth 2 universe, because by the way, they go to Earth 2, which is actually really cool, because that's in classic comics, that's where they moved all the JSA characters. So what I like about this is it seems like Diana played the part of the Kents for Clark here, that she inspired him to put the suit on and get to work. And I kind of dig that for like an Elseworlds like story for Superman.
Exactly. Because if anyone's going to inspire Clark, if you have to have that, of course it's going to be the Kents. But if they, like the Golden Age, of them not being alive, to have another hero that understands, and it is Diana, because that is their dynamic period. With Batman, I would say that no, because I guess just all the times DC has this Bat God complex, and having Batman influence Superman to be the hero that he's supposed to be, it just seems it's just too much.
That should go the other way around. But
Right.
anyway, so let's talk about the bad of this movie real quick. There's only one thing that's bad about this movie. Steve Trevor. You know I had to say that, Brit. You know I had to say that. My problem with this guy is that's more of the classic Steve Trevor, where he is. I get what they're doing with the whole relentless. He wants to marry Diana, but eventually it just gets to the point where I'm like, dude, take the frickin' hint.
Honestly, the way they played this, it was kind of like, again, this is all Golden Age, which is very good. And that's why, honestly, to have Golden Age, Clark and Diana, interact together, that is why when Wonder Woman, first debuted, so many people, and we have that article from 1942 that, wanted them to interact. And I see why, because it is a perfect clash. And with Steve, he was all right in this movie, yes, because he died. But at the same time, Diana was so independent, and she, had her focus on the mission. And then she only showed like her feelings towards him a little bit at the end, of course, when he died. But it kind of felt more like a friend than a love interest dying. And then with him asking to marry her, it was really just a plot device for Barry to marry Iris. It just seemed like they just made him a plot device for that only. Honestly, with Diana calling Clark Shakespeare, I love that. I wish they would have, kind of had her say that in one of the crisis parts. But
Like that last moment where she like calls him love. She gonna call him Shakespeare instead.
Right, something like that. But of course, DC isn't. They can't have a full circle of things.
Mm-hmm.
So, so yeah, with her, like I said, her interaction with everyone else was pretty much more interesting. But Steve and his relentless, marry me type B Wonder Wife, that is who he was, and it worked here
That's who he
as a
still is in
plot
the
device.
comics too, and I'm like, oh, stop with the puppy dog acting.
Well,
It's not working.
modern Steve, again, and also the military thing. The military thing works here.
Well, it's World War
he,
II, so
yeah, but modern day that doesn't work anymore, and they need to let that go. And Diana is pretty much shackled to the military because of Steve, and it shouldn't be anymore. Um, but like I said, he was mostly just a plot device for Barry and Iris to get married. It wasn't really a thing because you can tell that at the end of the movie when Clark says that he was inspired to, you know, step from the sidelines, how him and Diana smiled at each other, and then it took Steve to actually call out for Diana for her to remember, oh, he's laying there dying.
oh yeah, he's dying over there.
So, it was pretty much already preordained or whatever that Clark and Diana uh, would be together or just co-leads.
Which that would have been so freaking cool if they did more of these movies. I get it. WB is known for ending universes before they flourish, but continuing on, then we get our first Batman movie, which Long Halloween, like we said before, it's divided into two movies, and that's a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because they don't have the excuse of we had to cut out this very important detail because of time. They can do it. The problem is, yes, with as Brit said earlier, it's like padding in terms of like we actually got two movies out of one. So I'm like, yeah, but I did like how they basically handled like here we go. So I like the Bad Cat scenes of this. Like his relationship with Selena is great.
Yeah.
Jensen Ackles as Batman is like wow, that is so good. I didn't realize how well Soldier Boy could play Batman. Well, I'll take it. And the Harvey Dent story I thought was handled very well in this. What do you think?
Yeah, Batcat, I mean, you do have where Bruce, there's a scene, I think he's in the alley and he kind of sees Selena as his mom. So it's basically like the
Mm.
man-child thing.
So
And
Batman has an Oedipus complex? Is that what you're telling me?
so that's that. But the Batcat chase, them having this romance, and then at the end of the movie, obviously Selena has moved in, and they're actually the first solid couple of the Tomorrowverse, and that was really
What does it say that Batman has the most healthy relationship?
yes, like I mean,
That is
Barry.
so weird. I just realized that. That's right, Britt.
Well, Barry and Iris are at the we're getting married stage, but they are, they are already a solid couple, so that doesn't count. But
And
for
actually, oh wait, the timeline is weird for this because then Barry shows up at the end of this movie. But continue on.
right, and but so I would say Batcat is like the second
Mm-hmm.
couple, but to have Batman be in a committed relationship, that is just like, first time for everything.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, I didn't see that one coming.
Right. So I I pretty much like that part. And like we said, the animation, because of the budget, it did come off a little cheap with some things like with trying to replicate like the scene where all the villains are in an I think it's an office,
Mm-hmm.
and they are so spaced out, and kind of like the designs just look like they're just standing there and so generic or whatever. However, like we said, it's the budget, so they did the best that they could. As but the story is fine. You know, they really wanted this to be a mix of romance and the mystery and the action, and they did pretty good. The only thing, again, Batman got special treatment to have a two-parter, which
Mm-hmm.
again, because you have this limited time and you know, with these movies, I just don't think that was necessary to make it a two-parter.
Because he's Batman.
Right.
That's why. That's why, Brit. And it's because it's like Batman's more of a guaranteed seller than like Superman or Wonder Woman. So I get what they're going for from a business perspective. But I agree with you. I would have liked to see more of the characters. Now, in terms of what I didn't like, it's not that there's not a lot that I personally didn't like, short of the animation style, because again, we've already gone through this. In some areas, it seems like they're just rushing through it, like, quick, we need this scene in order to set up the other one. Oh no, wait, we're at the end of this movie. We have to get to this point. So I guess that's kind of where I would put a negative, is that somewhere it seems really rushed.
Exactly. Everything within this verse seems rushed because and again, with the budget and with the producers, they within their interviews, they all but said that everything is, you know, low budget and it's rushed. So we have to give them at least a little bit of slack for that.
Mhm.
But,
So
you know,
that's why it's not that big of a deal for me, because again, I get it. It's like, okay, that's fine. As long as you get, because they have a legitimate reason for that in that case. So it's beyond their control.
right.
So, mhm. But so then we get to, all right. So Britt, how much of the Green Lantern movie have you watched?
I have watched none and I won't.
All right. So I'm the Green Lantern fan, and obviously
Of
I
course,
watched
of
this
course.
movie. So I was hyped for this movie because it was a while from this point that we got like a Green Lantern anything. So I was like, okay, cool, I'll check this out. So it starts off pretty cool. It's a Jon Stewart movie, and I'm like, that's a bold choice for your Green Lantern. But you know what? I really dig that choice because I love Jon Stewart. So basically, he's a war vet that's kind of like lost. It was kind of funny. Now that I'm remembering it, they set up John Constantine. There's someone saying, it's the end of the world. So I'm like, oh, okay. So they basically give him the Kyle Rayner origin, where a ship crashes with a Guardian in it, and he says, you will be the last Green Lantern. Quick, take this ring. And the ring brings him to the Justice League Watchtower, where he meets Green Arrow, Vixen, and Martian Manhunter. And this is where they mention Earth 1 Wonder Woman. They go, where's Superman? Oh, he and Wonder Woman are taking care of an incident somewhere. So
okay,
I'm like,
yes.
yeah, there you go.
That is the one thing that I did see the clip of, and it was so confusing
Yes.
with seeing, like, we're gonna go to, you know, Warworld, but to see her design from, you know, Earth 2, you know, that movie, Justice Society movie, to Warworld, we thought that was Earth 1 Wonder Woman. So that really confused a lot of us, but to have her mentioned and then not show her really kind of like, yeah, a lot of things definitely were cut and changed.
Yeah. So essentially, so they find out that like the lanterns are like destroyed. Well, first off, they find out that the ring that John was given was Hal Jordan's ring. So obviously Green Arrow being Hal Jordan's best friend, which I did like because they make a reference to hard traveling heroes. So I'm like, okay, I dig that. So
they get into Javelin and just fly. Actually, they find that the Green Lantern ship that the Guardian came in actually repaired itself. So they take off and they want to go to Oa. On the way there, you have John Stewart learning how to be a Green Lantern, but he's only going there so he can because he thinks that they can get the ring off because he doesn't want to do this. They get to Oa and find the place is in ruins. The entire Green Lantern Corps has been wiped out. When they get there, so they're exploring. Then all of a sudden, John Stewart's attacked by a winged woman with a mace. And so we find out that Shiera showed up there because she needed, apparently, the lanterns, I think, attacked Thanagar or something like that. No. A Iranian ship. So the Iranians are essentially Adam Strange's people. So they've been at war with the people of Thanagar for many years. So that's the setup to this. So Iranian ship apparently landed on Oa, and obviously, and then later Thanagar was like destroyed. So obviously Hawkgirl's pissed off. She comes over there and they go, "Hey, stop attacking us. We don't know what's going on. Why don't you come join us?" And then we have, and then they go to this planet. At the same time, John is learning how to like use his ring. He learns the oath for the first time. He's like so out of it because he's like, "Oh, this is stupid. In brightest day and blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight." So he does the whole thing to recharge his ring. They show up on this planet and then they meet Adam Strange. Obviously, being Iranian, he and Hawkgirl fight. And then I love this scene where John Stewart and Ollie basically get in the middle of them and say, "Okay, stop. Let's all act like mature adults and stop trying to kill each other." So there's good parts in this movie. So they head to this plant to these coordinates, and it turns out it's like it's a space battle between Iran and Thanagar. And they find this one. So Adam Strange contacts this Iranian and says, "Yeah, this is Adam Strange," and apparently he was like a lost person. You discover that there's this one Iranian that's like essentially wants to use this Zeta beam cannon to like destroy the galaxy. Because what happened, the way they kind of get this is that the way they kind of explain what happened to Hal is Hal was like supervising the testing of the Zeta beam project, and the Zeta beam is essentially like a teleporter beam. So when they do it, it misfired. I'm using air quotes for a reason. It'll be explained later. And Hal was apparently killed. He wasn't. I'll explain later. So the team goes to these asteroids and discovers that there's like a base in the asteroids. Then they're knocked out and kidnapped by Sinestro, the Yellow Lantern. Then they find, so in their jail cell, they find Hal Jordan. Obviously, that's weird because they thought Jordan was dead. So the way they obviously you can see I'm visibly pissed off, Brit, because they do something in this movie that pissed me the frick off. I'll explain later. So they get out and they get to this battlefield, and the idea is that they're going to stop the Iranians from like destroying life. So they get there. Hal vanishes, and so they're followed by Sinestro's team, and by Sinestro's team is like made up of Kanjaro and an alien, Elisa Drac, who's another Yellow Lantern, Sinestro, and someone else. But the point is, so Team Sinestro is actually flying. Sinestro's team has a ship that can like turn into another race's ship. So in other words, they turned into a Iranian ship and attacked Thanagar, and then they turned it into a Thanagarian ship and attacked Rand to make them think that those two races were at war with each other. So they show up and they fight the Lanterns, and so then Hal vanishes, and John Stewart actually, before he pursues Hal, he kills Sinestro because Sinestro knocks the ring off. He has John cornered, and in one of the coolest deaths ever, John calls the ring and it flies through Sinestro's chest. Like a bullet through a gun. Boosh! And it just lands on Jon Stewart's arm. And I'm like, okay, that's dope. So then you discover, all right, they pursue Hal. It turns out Hal has been killing people. It turns out Hal's the bad guy. So what they did is, I've explained when I talked about post-crisis, the whole Emerald Twilight thing. So what happened is, Sinestro is the reason why that Zeta beam cannon misfired. And then Sinestro infected Hal with the Parallax entity, which is the entity of fear, as I've mentioned before. And then Hal they went to Oa, slaughtered the Green Lanterns, and Hal took all their rings. Hence where you get the recreation of this right here, this image at the bottom of the screen here. This is a recreation of the Emerald Twilight cover, which I have up there. So that's the cool part there. So then there's a battle between supercharged Hal and Jon Stewart. And it's actually pretty cool because this is when Jon Stewart becomes super rah-rah for the Green Lanterns. And he goes, yeah, thanks. You showed me that. It's not stupid. This oath means something. Then he beats the crap out of Hal while reciting the Green Lantern oath. Then he calls the rings off Hal's hands and fights him. And then Green Arrow kills Hal Jordan. Yes, Brit. Hal Jordan dies.
Yeah. First of all, I've noticed that DC is trying to make like Hal like much older to have Jon Stewart.
And that's called DCAU nostalgia.
Yeah, it's this. They want this buddy cop thing, but at the same time, or it's either a buddy cop thing or Hal being the mentor, John being the mentee, or Hal is dead or has turned into the bad guy.
But this is so bad because here's the thing. I could have dealt with the whole they gave the Kyle Rayner origin to John, because guess what? They did that in the DCAU. They gave the Hal Jordan origin to Kyle Rayner. So I was like, I can deal with that. But you just kill Hal? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I really, like I said, some of the choices, if they had more time, and again, see, that's why you didn't need Long Halloween to be a two-parter. Then you could have, had more to explain, I guess, the choices made, or if they would have had more interviews or something like that. Some of the things are very questionable, and it doesn't, like, there's lost threads within the TomorrowVerse. And
stupid creative decisions, just like the DCAMU.
Yeah. So with this, and I guess this is why, you as a Green Lantern fan, I understand that, and why this movie was basically like deemed the worst of the TomorrowVerse.
Yeah, because it would be one thing if they did Emerald Twilight, that's fine. They just did that. The problem is then they kill off Hal Jordan, because they could have easily redeemed him because he was under mind control of the entity. It's not really him.
Right. And then also within this movie, first we have to say that this is not Earth 2. This is jumping back to Prime. And by this time, they formed the Justice League, obviously.
Off screen.
And
okay, you know what? Let's move on to that. Here's the bad. We didn't see the Justice League form.
Yeah, they just mentioned them. And the thing is, and we'll go to that, but it is said that Superman has only been active for 3 years. So it's kind of like, within the time of Crisis and the Man of Tomorrow movie, only 3 years has pretty much passed, between the movies. So I would say that, what was it, like Man of Tomorrow, probably year 2, that is when the Justice League formed. And then they were only, even in the first Crisis part, it seemed like they weren't actually a team still. So I would say even within his third year of being Superman, they still didn't have the correct team, or not even the Hall of Justice was complete. Yeah, so I really don't know what was going on. It really confused me. And like I said, they had more plans. Things have had to be cut.
I
Understandable.
hope they had plans for Green Lantern, because here's the thing: I like some of this movie. Like, the
Well, the thing,
voice acting is great. They recreated the image of Emerald Twilight, and the idea of adapting Emerald Twilight for this is actually really cool. I draw the line when they kill Hal Jordan.
the thing is, and we'll go to that in Crisis. I think it was part one.
Part one, they
Hal
show him being like asked to join the league, and he's like, "Nope, fly off."
Exactly. So I'm very confused with I know that it was a flashback, or but it just seemed like they were trying to fill in the blanks and was retconning themselves at the same time. So it really just, you know, was a lost cause because you didn't have the proper build up in the first place.
Now, let me tell you this. If I were to do this movie, I know we have a rewrite later, but I want to do a little preview for this as the Green Lantern fan, because I have to get the system. If I
Right.
were to rewrite this, I would make it, you could keep like some of the plot lines. Don't kill every Green Lantern. Have a survivor there that was like buried under some rubble. He's alive. He says Hal Jordan did this, and they're like, wait, what? Hal Jordan would never like kill the entire Sinestro Corps. You can even make it where it was someone that defected from Sinestro's Corps and joined back with the Green Lanterns. You could add a little bit of distrust in there. You could keep like the team lineup and everything like that. Then at the end, you can make it Hal, but give him the opportunity to expel it. And as he's expelling the parasite, have him recite the Lantern Oath. There. That's how you do Hal Jordan. And then what you could do for the ring, because they did this, have the ring copy itself and become another ring and then fly onto Hal's finger. And now you have two Green Lanterns. There you go. I just rewrote your movie to have a better ending. It's because I like this movie, but then when they get to the third act, it goes downhill.
Yeah.
So then we get, speaking of retcons, the Legion of Superheroes, which, all right, let me talk about the problem with the retcon with this. They just act like Supergirl's always been here. Well, actually, first, here's the good part. I like the Legion, and I like the Supergirl and Brainiac 5 romance. So they went from very antagonistic to each other because he's Brainiac to lovers. I dug that. And again, the Legion are some of those unique characters. But first off, so Brit, have you seen this movie?
Oh, I skimmed through it.
Okay, so remember how they made Mon-El the basically Kryptonian evil?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, but it's they retcon they just say, oh yeah, Supergirl's here, and I'm like, wait, when explain this? And it's like, that's why Crisis is hilarious, because Crisis in the flashbacks was like, here's all the stuff we wanted to do, look, here it happened here.
Right. It that's what I'm saying is that, and we'll get to that because the labels of the DVDs, it tells a story. It does all on its own. And the interviews, or the lack of, but the little interviews that we get from the creatives, it just really showed that how they would say that, oh, we've been having this planned out, since the very beginning. Yes, you knew you wanted to do a crisis film because you was asked to get to the crisis film. However, getting to that crisis film, you have to fill in the blanks. But the blanks are obviously still not filled, bigger than what prepared. And also just the fact of I would say Jim Craig, what he tried to do, he wanted you to care for the characters. He said that they focused on the characters that, you know, obviously were going to die and wanted the audience to care for them more, which makes sense. However, still, even with those characters, we're still left with a lot of blanks, as I said, and the origins aren't filled. Their purpose, the only one that actually was given a purpose and a little bit more um uh, attention with what she was supposed to do is Wonder Woman, which we appreciate, of course. However, Barry and Kara, it just felt like they were thrust into being the main focus, just for them to
Because they
have
were.
their crisis end. And even Barry, he, and Constantine. I mean, you have him as basically the catalyst or whatever, and the main reason of why all of this is happening, and gladly like sharing the blame or taking the blame away from Barry, because Barry is always blamed for
What
crisis
did
or
you do
flashpoint.
this time with the timeline, Barry? I
Right.
love all those
So,
memes that came out after the CW show.
right. So you have that, and even like I said, Constantine, he didn't really have a story, and unless also, which I think I forgot to mention, was they had these like shorts
Yes,
within,
I know exactly what you're talking about. They just short that bridge, the DCAMU to this.
and it's kind of like, okay, no one's going to watch the shorts. um
Well, even on that,
so
I will say that, see, we'll talk about this more when we get to Crisis 1, but yeah, I get what you're saying with that. It's it's complicated, and the issue comes up to, again, it's like I wish that they were able to get to like flesh out the universe, because then all these issues would have been gone. We probably she probably could have showed up at Supergirl in Man of Tomorrow 2. Then obviously we would have had the Wonder Woman series. And it's like, when I watch this, even the thing here with the Constantine story, because that was cool, because Constantine is dealing with guilt, that whole thing, and then it turns. So the story of the Constantine short, have you seen it?
no.
Okay, so Constantine is in this horror house that keeps killing him, and then he essentially respawns and restarts the day. He's with Zatanna and everything like that, and the DCAMU has happened. The reboot has happened. It turns out what actually happened is, so the Spectre plucked him out before the reboot happened and put him in this world. Constantine thinks it's a like prison. What it actually is that the Spectre wanted to give him a happy ending. It's just Constantine's guilt is what kept having Zatanna, these manifestations of Zatanna and their kids, kill him. And that's cool. Then it turns out that, like, because he broke out of that prison, he was then sent to the TomorrowVerse without his memories. And that's how you get him in the TomorrowVerse.
That is a cool idea.
It is.
However, it just felt like a whole lot of complications that
It's
was
the multiverse,
unnecessary.
Brit, and it's reboot and it's Flashpoint. Of course it's complicated.
I mean, but even still, for me, I would just think, just let the multiverse be what it is. And you have different worlds, different timelines, different Earths, well, world, Earth, um, and they're, you know, let them do their own thing. You don't have to, I would say, complicated with, you know, uh, rewriting time, rebooting, um, merging things together. I don't know. It just seemed like, and that's the thing within comics too, is they brought the complexity or the confusion and complications of comics to the movies, and that is where you kind of take the audience out, because we don't care. We just want the different stories told, and just simple as that. But honestly, they wanted to give a happy ending to Constantine, but honestly, no, except for Diana, no one got a happy ending for a second time.
I know it's kind of annoying with that, but so with the Supergirl movie, I enjoyed it for what it was, but again, it's just retcon. So then we get at the end of this movie, Batman and Superman are like teleported away via Zeta beams, and then we do that's the way the movie ends, but that's the post credit scene.
Right.
And then we get Justice League Warworld. Now, my opinion of this movie changed after I watched Crisis Part 3. I'll explain later. It's still a ding on this movie, but I'll explain what I mean. So the idea is that Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, it should be called Trinity Warworld, but are put in these three, like, essentially like Matrix scenarios where they're in these like simulations. Wonder Woman is a cowgirl for some reason. Honestly, you know what's kind of funny? Batman's and Wonder Woman's would have been a lot better if they were switched. If it was Barbarian Wonder Woman, it's like Red Sonja.
Well, she did like jump to Batman.
Yeah, but it would have been better if Wonder Woman was the main protagonist for the Barbarian, because it seems more like she fits in that world. The point is, here's the problem. Actually, first, let's talk about the good. Again, the good is Super Wonder. And Brit and I had a feeling something was going on with, at least with this Diana, because the way she put her hand on his chest and said, "My Clark," I'm like, I'm sorry. That is not like, that is, it's like Wonder Woman 800, or like Conrad being an a-hole and saying he's keeping it ambiguous, but then have Diana say, "Oh yeah, Clark knows how to make his hands dirty." I'm like, thanks, bro. But anyway, it's like I like that. I like seeing the Trinity fight, and the three stories are pretty cool. So, okay, Britt, your thoughts on the positives of Warworld?
Okay, so the the first thing is Diana is still Diana.
Yeah.
She fights, she shows again her compassion, she protects everyone, and she still becomes like the leader. And then with even during, I think, Clark's story, when he is like acting like the rookie he is, she comes to his rescue, which is a good scene. Then the scene where we finally realize that they have amnesia, and she gets her memory. I think, Clark and Bruce get their memories kind of back.
It starts to come back a little bit. Although I will say, I love where Wonder Woman puts the suit on and goes, "I like it," and then there's Clark in the background. Me too.
Right. Yeah. That, honestly, you don't know if you mean his own suit or hers. It's kind of, that little thing.
Yeah.
But the fact that her memory is triggered by seeing the S is just really.
That's when I was like, okay, she's probably with her Superman.
Yeah, and then when we first saw the trailer, it's like, oh, whose hand is on his chest? And of course,
I knew it was Wonder Woman because I saw the bracelet.
Exactly, but of course, some fans will still say Lois.
But I'm like, where was Lois in the trailer or in the movie?
Right.
She wasn't. Good thing.
Right. So, you see the hand on the chest and you wonder what's happening. So when we go to this scene and she's, remember Clark. First of all, she remembers his name is Clark. And then she says that everything is flashes, but her vivid memory is of her Superman, which is very lovely. We love that. And but the thing is, it's so rushed though to get to the conclusion of, oh, this is a multiverse story, and Batman and Superman are from the same Earth, but Wonder Woman is, from Earth 2. And we still don't even know that she's from Earth 2 because they have changed her design from
Yeah.
the JSA movie.
I will say though, going back to the JSA, I liked how for the JSA they gave her the original Wonder Woman design.
Right. That was, I mean, as far as it's nice that they gave her the design. It's just the fact of like how it was designed. Her hair, it kind of looked like an egghead, which was a little wonky.
Egghead Wonder Woman, that's great.
It was a little wonky. However, it worked in some frames of that movie, which was okay. Now here, the flat hair, okay, no, like it's okay, but I need Diana with some fluff, with some curls.
Maybe give her the Jimenez or the Perez look.
Yeah, the flat hair is
Even
very
Gal's
lazy.
look, even Gal's hair would work.
Yeah, it just the flat hair was very a no for me.
But I will say the other parts of the design, because they gave her basically the swimsuit, but a little more armored, which, again, animation and comics, the swimsuit's fine because it's just drawn. It's not like it's got to actually look
And
realistic.
she also has shorts. Like
Yeah.
it's more shorts, which I like this design. If they were to have DCU design and they want to give her the classic, which I think the more, I don't know, I just feel like Gunn would probably go that route, but he won't have her in just the basic swimsuit. I feel like she would have like New 52 TomorrowVerse with a turtleneck and maybe like the shorts.
Or I
something.
think they'll just go New 52 and give her like the bottoms, but still have the armored top.
The bustier, yeah. Honestly, I feel like she will have something like that. I think it's going to be shorts or pants, but most likely she's going to have a skirt. Because it just seems like DC wants Diana to,
They want her to have like the
skirt.
more armored look because
Yeah.
you know what? For live action, it looks better than the swimsuit. Because here's the thing. With the swimsuit, if she's just in the swimsuit and she takes like a slash from a sword and it doesn't go through, honestly, I'm like, why didn't that cut the suit? Where with the armor, it's like, okay, I can buy that like enduring.
That and also with you have to have a look, a certain look for the swimsuit to work, and you don't want an actress to feel uncomfortable, and you don't want her to, like, fanboys are going to, be
Yeah,
fanboys.
she's gonna end up on DeviantArt and all that stuff, but it's like
Yeah.
my problem is that to make the suit actually look like a swimsuit, her nipples are gonna be showing through the suit, and I'm like, there's no way this looks good.
Yeah, so we'll get away from the swimsuit and just have her. Yeah, if she has to have a battle skirt.
And if people say it works in the comics, it looks like the men have nothing down there because they're all drawn very smooth.
Yeah, that is actually done on purpose. Some artists do show, try to have the
super bulge.
Yeah, but most of the time they do want it shadowed or smooth. For women, unless it's Ed Benz, he does not.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. They're always like in some. They always have like super spines, so they can like turn like this and still look like sexy.
Yeah.
Look at my boobs and ass.
Yeah,
I'm not complaining, but I'm just saying it's a little unrealistic. I know dealing with superheroes.
Yeah, and it's very exaggerated proportions. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
some women, we do have proportions, but at the same time, Ed Benz, he loves his proportions, I would say.
Yeah, let's just say all the women look the same in certain areas, but back to the movie. So again, and I liked all three of the stories together. My problem with those three shorts, and now we'll get to the bad parts. They didn't do enough in this movie to establish that these three were leading to what happens at the end. Because as far as we knew, these were all separate stories. Because what I thought originally was that the first two were just like, hey, fun, let's do some Elseworld stuff. And then the black and white one was the main story. You find out in Crisis, no, all three of these, what happens is that apparently at the end of each of these stories, that Batman, that Wonder Woman, that Superman are just recycled into the next one.
Yeah, it really.
You should have shown me that.
Yeah, they again, it was a lot of confusion, especially with having. I believe they had 3 writers on this movie.
Oh God, that explains it. And by the way, Barry shows up in this Batman one, so I'm like, what?
Yeah, it having 3 writers. Ironically, Josie Campbell, for My Adventures with Superman, she wrote the Wonder Woman one, which
okay, that's not bad.
Is her characterization for Diana? She's very stoic.
Can I say what's kind of hilarious? Even the Steve Trevor in that one died, so apparently Steve's only use is dying.
Yeah,
suck it, eat dirt.
Yeah, he has to kick the bucket. That's just what his character is.
It's like they pulled the 1984 where they brought him back in some way and then killed him again.
I mean, Steve is, he's just a plot device throughout this whole thing, and they didn't have anything else. Didn't know what to do with him, so just kill him off.
Yeah, but again, they didn't do enough to establish this, so that's why I kind of was like out of it for these movies. But my score improved. I'll explain when we get to Crisis. Speaking of Crisis, all right. So then we find out Crisis on Infinite Earths is like the end of this thing. It's going to be a trilogy. I was at first okay. So here's the problem with the Crisis thing. It should have been 2 movies and not 3. Parts 1 and 2 should have been 1 movie, and then part 2. That's my big like critique of this. What I did like though, is Psycho Pirate is a character that's in this that they use pretty extensively, but he's in the JSA movie. He was the being that was manipulating Aquaman, and it's really cool seeing them bring him over into this, and it's that Psycho Pirate. My problem is, what is up with the anti-monitor design? It's like a Day the Earth Stood Still thing. And even when they armored him up, when they say, oh, he's growing armor, I thought they were going to give him the actual Crisis armor. Then they just make him more black. Not race-wise, but armor color-wise. And I'm like, what the heck is this? Again,
more black.
I had to phrase it that way in case I get clipped, Brit. This is the internet, but I'm like, what the hell is up with this? But for the good parts, so Brit so you could feel the emotional weight of what was going on. They did a great job of communicating the stakes. So then let me tell you all a story. So Crisis Part 2 is coming out, and Taladia watched it when it leaked. And then he told me, Jared, you're going to want to watch Crisis Part 2. I was going to plan to anyway, but I was like, okay, why? And then he tells me, oh, yes, Earth 2, Superman and Wonder Woman are together. And I'm like, come again? Then I DM Brit. Yeah, then I DM Brit. And Brit's like, Brit's like, you better not be playing with me. And then I just get a DM, all caps, Superman and Wonder Woman kiss. And I'm like, wait, what? She and I could not believe it because, again, and this is my big plus to the Crisis. Because I was expecting, when we got to part 3 or anything like that, for them to disrespect Super Wonder, like have someone say, you two are not supposed to be together. Nope. No, in no way did that happen. They respected Wonder Woman and they respected Superman. And this coming after the DCAMU, I'm sorry, this trilogy gets a big boost because of that.
Exactly. You have where they have their cake and eat it too in the right kind of way. You have Earth 2, um, Superman and Wonder Woman, which my only thing is that they had to throw in Earth 2 Lois, which doesn't really make sense
They just,
because
you know why they said that? Because in case the people are like, well, where's Lois? He goes, yeah, he was with her. It was just old age.
the thing is, I mean, she was alive and she died off screen. So she really just
I'm
didn't
fine with that.
deserve
Disrespect Lois. I'm fine with that.
she really didn't deserve a mention if that's all she did though. You know, and the one thing though, I would say that they had influence of Kingdom Come because they did want to adapt Kingdom Come. So
Mhm.
maybe that was a little bit of influence. He even Jim Craig also said about the silver um streaks. I want to say streaks, but
Oh, the sideburns
the
and things.
sideburns, yeah. He was supposed to have them, I guess, but they didn't. Um, as we saw from the earlier
I can
Justice
see him with that.
Society, yeah, having the classic Fletcher um, fit. But yeah, in order to kind of like distinguish which Superman is which, the older Superman, he has like, it looked like he got bags under his eyes and his cheekbones or whatever. And
He has a little less of an extreme S curl. And also, what was kind of funny is that when part 2 came out, DC social media put out identifying Earth 2 Superman as Superman and Earth 1 Superman as Superboy.
well, he's the rookie. He was only
No, but that
super.
was so funny. It's like you only become a Superman when you sleep with Wonder Woman.
Not sleeping. But
I just love that how it was they legit identified him as Superboy. And
they
I'm
did.
like, oh god damn. The salt.
They did. I mean, it was his third year, so yeah, he has not graduated to
But after
Superman yet.
years of calling him Superman, his first movie was called Superman. It's just so funny how the one that we all like, the one that sleeps with Wonder Woman is the Superman. And I love the Twitter response to this when they were like, oh, he's an adulterous Kryptonian. And I'm like, Lois died. And you know what I blame this on, Brit? Immortal Beloved, where he says it'll always only be Lois.
Yeah, but again, we've discussed the story of what it was supposed to be is basically having him as a recluse. You know, even if she dies, he just can't love anyone else. It's not even just Diana, it's just anyone else. And that really is very weird, you know, because in reality, things, whether you break up or it is like a significant other passes away, whatever, you find love again, you know, at some point. And for Superman, well, they say that he's mortal, of course, but obviously he ages slowly because you have Black Canary, Jay Garrick, um, Hourman. I think Hawkman uh, was a reincarnation, but
Yeah.
everyone else was old as dirt, while Clark and Diana was basically still young. Or on the TomorrowVerse page, it says that Diana was like 34. So I'm guessing that her aging stopped at 34. And I would say Clark seemed maybe a little bit older. So I would put him at a solid 40. So you have Diana 34, Clark 40, and that's their you know um I would say internal or eternal human ages for this time. And I don't know, to say that they can't love anyone else is just weird to me. Um, but just the way that still Jim Craig dealt with their relationship within all three parts, you
Yeah,
know, it really
solid.
showed some care. And also the fact that he had Justice League Action too, them together there. So it's just a continuation of that,
Methinks
at
he
least,
supports the relationship.
yeah. And I would say that part three was probably the
It's my favorite DC animated movie of all time at this point. Like,
it,
never have I cried from an animated movie as I did with this. Not just the Super Wonder. It's like when obviously Supergirl dies in this because it's Crisis. The pained scream that Superman lets out. I was like, uh, I don't feel good. And it's like that. It's when Superman says goodbye to Wonder Woman, when Batman says goodbye to Helena, because Helena Wayne is in this. And then he says, it took the end of the world for me to let people in. What happens if that happens again? And then basically, Helena gave a speech saying it's fate. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this so much.
yeah, because you basically see, you get a sort of understanding of why, even though we know that story wise, budget wise, they left out things because they had to. But for your conclusion of showing Batman didn't have the Robins, on Prime Earth because he wanted to be a loner. But when he saw Earth 2, Batman having the Robins, having, Helena, it
And Terry.
and Terry, it just felt like, okay, I can have a family. Having a sidekick or whatever, it must not have been bad because not only did Earth 2 Batman, he had his Robins, he had a daughter, he was married and lived a life until he died. That, and to see how she grew up to be, a hero, still having the personality of Selena, he, you know, he felt inspired by that, and that was really nice. With Clark and Diana's relationship and how you explained to me that, I did forget for that moment because it's kind of like we wanted a happy ending of, okay, everything basically starts over and go back to normal or whatever. So, and then when they said that they were inspired by Kingdom Come, we would think that, okay, so they would have a Kingdom Come, ending. Um,
Yeah. So so what Brit's referring to is that she was at first skeptical about the ending when the movie came out, and then I told her, no, 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 you have to rethink this. Trust me, this is really good. And then she texts me back, forget my criticisms. And then I'm
yeah,
like, no, it's because it's homaging the line in Superman Wonder Woman where she goes, no, the world has to come first.
yeah, and given that, the reason why I was skeptical because you have Diana that she sacrifices and is always set back, in animation. So you feel like, oh, okay, of course they're gonna kill off Diana because they want um basically to prop up Lois too. But and that was another thing, within the trailers of seeing Lois, it kind of felt like, oh, okay, great. The part two, Diana is somewhere lost or she's um dead or whatever, and so they're now trying to put Lois in the lead of part three. But no, it was that Diana, she's the one that was, they were worried and wanted to find. And then at the very end, she is the one that created a new world. And she was the ultimate hero overall. Yes, Barry made his sacrifice, Kara made hers. But the biggest sacrifice and the ultimate hero overall was Diana. And then
Now,
that
I have a theory for you, Brit.
mhm,
So that was a wash machine, correct?
right.
So what my theory is, so Wonder Woman put her lasso on and she wished for a world. My theory is that she wished for the world to be where she and Clark end up together.
Well, for it was in a recent interview, Jim Craig, he said that Diana's whole thing, it was for her to be mortal. Like
Mm-hmm.
she
And
wanted,
that.
after everything that she's witnessed through, her whole speech to Clark was like, I've seen people just come and go, and it's traumatizing. She doesn't want to see that anymore. She
Mm-hmm.
wants to basically be free of, yeah, people think being immortal is fun, it's, this power, but it's not. It's you still see the people that you meet, they will age out, they will die, they will be murdered or something like that. But she can never feel that sort of, no one wants to feel that pain, or but she just wants to age gracefully basically.
Mm-hmm.
And for her wish, basically the world is starting over, and she's able to start over, not only as a mortal, but back to home, the mascara, and her mother. And that is what Wonder Woman, honestly, her story is about. I don't like it that they gear it in towards Steve, and this so-called love story of him or whatever. It's kind of like you're putting in the Little Mermaid, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Wonder Woman is a mother-daughter story, and that really comes from Perez as well when he introduced Julianne Vanessa.
And then Jimenez really ramped that up with Hippolyta, Diana, and then Donna as well.
And you have uh, just the fact of the Amazons, their story, and Historia as well. Um,
Oh, and if you like stories about daughters punching their mothers, there's always the Tom King run.
no, we do not recommend that at
I
all.
love how Brett's
No,
like, nope, nope, don't even make
no,
that joke.
no, no. Um, but for Diana's, like I said, her wish was to be with her mother again, and to basically start over from the time, I guess, where she was happy. And it seemed like that is when the Amazons must have died, when Diana was that age.
Mm-hmm.
So for her to go back and be able to, live out her life again. And yeah, I think that Jim Craig also said that what was weird is that they were going to have like Diana as a young girl, but Clark and Bruce are adults. And that was weird. So
But wait, is the scene in Crisis where she's a girl? Is that like in the modern day?
yes, it's kind of like they were starting over in a modern day.
No,
So
no, but so wait, that wasn't in the past of the new universe where Diana's a little girl and then maybe Clark's a boy and Bruce is a boy.
that is where they start. Yeah, they. I will have to look for the interview again, but it looks like it starts where Diana, Bruce, and Clark are young kids, but
Okay, good.
the initial thing was Diana was young, but they were older. It was, yeah, they were going to show other leaguers, basically, of different ages, but that wouldn't have worked. So they just kind of like just skipped it. All they are of the same age as young kids, but they just showed Diana, which
Hmm.
still is. I mean, they didn't wrap it up in a neat bow. The bow is a little crooked, but I would say that again, ending it with Diana being happy, I would give it, an A. because for so long,
Yes.
Diana in animation has been
Actually, hang on, Brit.
neglected.
I have a slide for that. But first, Brit, this is payback. There you go. I compiled the Make Brit Cry slide.
No,
This is
making
payback for making me relive this.
okay. So first, okay, that reminds me. First of all, Diana taming a dinosaur,
They
a
brought the
T-Rex.
idea that she can talk to animals. I was like, thank you.
That is beautiful. Diana was just so. This whole thing showed she is just great, and the way she's so versatile as a character too, and she can make jokes, she can have fun,
She's
and
like,
then
this is what I get when I ask for more action.
and what was funny is that I posted that and someone was like, wait, did she mean like, I was like, no, I think she meant
I'm sure
fighting.
it's a double meaning with Clark.
But yeah, it's definitely probably a double meaning, which is still very cool. And then with her saying the my love, my Clark love, it really showed that Jim Craig really didn't care, about the naysayers. He kept their relationship so strong from beginning to end.
Yeah, they were together until the end. And at that point, I'm like, you may not have necessarily had them end up together at the end. You know what? I'll take it.
But the thing is, what's of course gonna make you boo-hoo is the way Clark caresses her cheek and he is like about to start bawling, crying, and he has the, tears.
And you can even see him after the sacrifices happen and the portal opens to the new world. It's like, look at him right there. He's like standing so like, oh my gosh, she's gone. And our boy, Earth 2 Clark, is the first one to step through to the new world.
Because again, Diana inspires. He's probably like, Superman
Where Clois Soups was one of the last.
Yeah, he's very much Superboy, and of course he has to have Lois by his side because he can't do anything,
They're attached
for
at the hip.
himself. Yeah, like Velcro in the worst way possible. But yeah, Diana, like I said, TomorrowVerse really gave Diana the respect she deserved within animation that she hasn't had.
Yes, exactly. So continuing on. So let's go with this. So DCAMU versus the TomorrowVerse. And we'll get into more detail when we get to comparing. But here's the thing. Yes, they both had the off screen. So they both have that ding. Where the DCAMU has the advantage is we see the Justice League form. And we get to see the dynamics and stuff. In terms of overall story, I think I enjoy the TomorrowVerse more because yes, the DCAMU has the Super Wonder for most of it, but at that point, as soon as we get to DOS, I'm like, nope, I'm done. Just end it.
Right. The way Tuckerverse started. First, you've already talked to Sam Liu, and he tells, they didn't care for the new 52. They wanted to do, the same of the classic or post-crisis version of the characters. But it's kind of like those movies, first, the way it is they're so stuck on nostalgia and what they prefer than what's more interesting for new fans and financially stable. And for Tucker to say that, well, the new 52 was for younger audience, again, no sugar honey iced tea. We are like, that is what you want. You want a younger audience to be interested in these characters. So why are you saying that as a bad thing? And he also got a little testy or whatever when people were questioning, why did you break up Clark and Diana when, you know, like, did we miss something? Yeah, it was all off screen. And then you have the nerve, audacity to have her as a mouthpiece. And he
Yep.
admitted
You know what? Screw it.
for,
Let's do this. Yeah. Here's why I like. Brit and I talked about this. I think it was last week. I think.
yeah,
The reason why I like TomorrowVerse Wonder Woman infinitely more than DCAMU Wonder Woman started off great because she's like the younger Wonder Woman who's inexperienced. Once you get to Death of Superman, she becomes the mouthpiece for Tomasi and all the other a-holes that have been telling us we're not real fans if we don't like Lois.
right. So with, okay, so he also said that Diana becomes like Lois's friend, so we as the audience and the fans will like Lois. It's
Nope.
like, no,
That's not the way
that's
that
not how,
works. That's
yeah,
that's not the way friendship works. If a buddy of mine has a friend that I genuinely hate, that doesn't, just because we share a mutual friend doesn't make it. That's the same mentality of the people on Facebook who send me a friend request just because we share a friend.
exactly. And the thing is, how they had the conversation between Diana and Lois, it was like Diana only cared for Cal, the Kryptonian, you know.
And where she's talking about, they're talking about the Force Superman, and she shows interest in the Superman that's murdering people.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, you are really throwing Diana under the bus for Lois. Again, to prop up Lois, and I can't stand that. Every time they try to make Diana seem like a the, you know, happy murderous goddess, you know, without humanity, is to prop up Lois or to give Steve relevance. That Steve and Lois have to basically have Clark and Diana on leashes, because if they don't, then they are going to feel like they're gods. When again, we watched um Justice League Throne of Atlantis or read Justice League 12, Diana and Clark, they say point blank, they are not like the gods. So why are you constantly trying to force that narrative on them just for love interests or whatever that the audience really does not care for? And they don't have any relevance. They for me, they are liabilities, and they don't strengthen Clark and Diana at all. So for this Diana to basically be reduced, and they always talk about reducing when Diana is with Clark,
And these are the
but
same people that are Wonder Bat fans.
Wonder Bat fans or Steve and Diana fans or Diana and Minerva fans, but they we see that within the Tomorrowverse, again, Diana led the JSA. Diana was the basically the co-lead throughout all the movies, um, you know, forward from where she was introduced. And she's the one, again, that was the ultimate hero that made the last ultimate sacrifice. You know, and she is the one that inspired Superman. She inspired Clark to be who he is supposed to be. So how is that a reduction? And I saw a tweet from a Superman fan that said that her death was, um, they didn't like it. And it's like,
Sure,
why?
they didn't.
Because she was the one that, you know, was shown as the ultimate hero. That's the only reason why you don't like it. And
Oh
it's
my
it's kind
god.
of, it's really sad that Diana can't have respect because Superman fans will feel intimidated. And then Wonder Woman, and then Superman can't have respect because, well, Batman fans will feel some type of way too. But also it they make it seem like a power scaling thing. And they always want to blame Superman and Wonder Woman fans, Super Wonder
Mhm.
fans, of power scaling, only caring about powers, wanting them to be gods or something like that, or eugenics. But it's like, no, that is exactly what y'all care about. We don't. We care about exactly what the TomorrowVerse portrayed. Diana having the respect. She is the lead or co-lead, and she is the one that inspires. Clark respects her. He loves her. He, you know, um, she is precious to him. But at the same time, he understands what it means to be a hero from her, and how heartbreaking it is. They still make that sacrifice basically together, you know. And but with Tuckerverse, you have Diana, like you said, she's still inexperienced, but she's young, she's feisty, she just wants to fight, but at the same time, she's very happy. Um,
Yeah, Wonder Woman in Justice League War and Throne of Atlantis was pretty much new 52 Diana. And the thing is, but again, when they got to the death of Superman, they ended the whole. You notice that they even changed her design slightly with having all of her hair down and all that stuff. It wasn't tied up in that little bun. Then you get to like her movie Bloodlines, where they put her in the Gal Gadot armor, which I liked to a degree, but I liked it when she had her own like unique look, which I still think the DCAMU design is like one of the best Wonder Woman designs ever. But back to this. Then she literally becomes like you said before, no, you should like this. And I'm like, screw you telling me what I should like.
right, you have her basically a mouthpiece for the second half of the Tuckerverse. You have her first saying that she liked Cyborg, Superman, or whichever one that is. Then
It was the one literally called the Eradicator.
Yeah, my bad. The Eradicator. And then you have her saying that, well, but Clark loves Lois, or the Clark side, Lois knows Clark Kent. But it's kind of like, no, did we not see the movie like right before where she basically belittled
Again.
Clark?
Oh, Brit, I have a confession to make for you. I'm Superman.
Yeah.
What you're this in love? She's never seen you without your glasses on. This is
Right.
not. See, here's the thing. This is not the Clark that changes his posture and everything as well. No, he's regular Clark.
Yeah, the thing is, they, in the Hush film, I believe, is now that Lois is seeing that he types fast or whatever. And it's kind of like, okay, did you not notice that before? You know, anything that they try to put in within other movies is like, now you want to say, oh, Lois cared for Clark first, or she knew him. Even Clark saying that Lois knows him better than anyone. How is that when she didn't even know your identity? You was lying to her throughout the whole entire movie until the very end, when you revealed your identity. And even she laughed in his face, and then she said, oh, you're not joking, you're serious. And it's like, even with him taking off his glasses, she still did not believe that he was Superman, which is kind of like, again, does he ever take off his glasses when they were together? How are you so in love when you don't know him? If you were with someone for however amount of time, even worked with them, but they can have a whole double life, another life, and you not know about it. That is where trust is like not there, and you would question that relationship. Um, but within a previous movie, Diana told Clark, you can share your burdens with me. She was right there with him. Even with Death of Superman, Lois was telling Clark that he had to stay with her, that, call the Justice League to take care of Doomsday. But Diana told him to go fight it, go kill it, basically. So you can see the different dynamics of Lois being very selfish. She really doesn't know Clark, and Diana, the one that continues, even when he broke her heart, even when he, you know, and the way Tomasi also wrote Clark to be so antagonistic towards Diana. Like he just didn't care for her either. It really showed the way Tomasi feels about Diana too. Um, and then we get again back to Reign of Superman, how basically it shows that the Justice League, if it's a Superman film, um, especially with Doomsday, everyone is useless. And it's such a contrived storyline that Superman has to die. But you have Diana who's fought gods and monsters that's way more powerful than Doomsday, but she can't beat them. I would never understand that logic, and I don't like it. That is why Death of Superman needs to be buried in the depths of, of the abyss, basically.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, the reason why Superman died in the original thing is because the Justice League that they gave us were a bunch of D-listers that no one cared about that weren't powerful. This is the creme de la creme of superheroes. It's like, it's like Wonder Woman, Superman, Green Lantern, and the Flash alone teaming up could probably take out Doomsday or at least incapacitate him. But then he kicks their asses. I'm like, you realize these are the A-listers, right?
Right.
It is one of the most asinine things ever. But by the way, so back to this, we're going to talk about Wonder Woman for a second. So we talked about all these points. She really is the main character of the DCAMU up to a certain point. And that's why I really, really, really love about this. And obviously the mother-daughter thing. Then we get to, so as you guys know, Brit and I are fanfic writers. And we thought, what if we did the TomorrowVerse and basically to fill in the gaps after JSA World War II? And I will say this, the next movie, if I could handle this, I don't know what you think, Brit, the next movie would be titled Superman and Wonder Woman World War II.
Well, first, the war. I really want to
get or just do Superman, Wonder Woman,
power couple,
Earth
definitely.
2, or power couple, dude. Make this adaptation a power couple.
Yes, but going back again though with Diana, I really just going back to Tuckerverse also. Again with the mother-daughter thing. Also in Bloodlines, you have Diana basically being rebellious, and she, she chooses to go to Man's World to take Steve back against Hippolyta's, ruling, and she fights her mother for a man. That within that movie, it is very anti-motherly. And just with Julia and Vanessa's their drama too, it just seemed very like you don't understand a mother and daughter relationship. And that is what, to me, the foundation, especially with the foundation that Perez built, that is who Wonder Woman is in her story. It is a mother-daughter story. So for you to constantly make Hippolyta banish Diana from Themyscira, to not have Julia and Vanessa in Wonder Woman stories as prominent characters, it just really takes away the soul of Wonder Woman. And also to make it about Steve. Like, Steve is nothing. Stop trying to, revolve Diana's story around him, where we do get results like, yeah, the 2017 movie, it was a success because you see Wonder Woman, you see her fighting and everything like that. But Jeff Johns and Patty Jenkins were more solely focused on bringing back Steve. And then you end up with the result of Wonder Woman 84. No, that is a complete no, especially with Diana giving up her powers, with her the body snatchers thing of or Shallow Hall type thing with Steve and the other dude.
With a guy that was possibly LGBTQ.
Yeah, no. let Steve die. Let him be an old man, a brother, big brother figure, um, or father figure, but bring back the sisterhood, the motherhood of Wonder Woman, and that will bring in, you know, male fans will watch the movies too, you know, but it's really for your female fans to understand who Wonder Woman is from a female's perspective and truly understand what a sisterhood is and what motherhood is. And write
Yeah,
Hippolyta much better than she's not the sheltering mother dearest. You know, stop writing her like that too. She just cares for her daughter and also show the Amazons what they went through. Not so much as detailed, but give that story of why Hippolyta wants to protect her daughter, you know, have her protected. And that's pretty much all I ask for is for a Wonder Woman film to really focus on that first, and then we can transition over to if Superman is to be, you know, in the movie as well and show that relationship. Give me the mother daughter, you know, establish that first.
yeah, exactly. And and so that's the way I would change it too, is make it so the Amazons were not destroyed. Like maybe they were relocated, or maybe Wonder Woman thought they were annihilated. Because also, here's the thing, and this is the problem with the new 52 Superman Wonder Woman. I would have liked, actually, you know what? They could have done this, and I think Charles Soule would have done this if he got a volume 3. Have Diana take Clark to Themyscira, even to like the statue of her mother, to just say, "Mother, this is Cal," so that way they can kind of meet each other,
Oh, I think that that would have been um because
even as a symbolic gesture, just saying, "Here is the man I told you about."
yeah, because Charles did have for his after the Super Doom storyline, he had a Wonder Woman centric um storyline. So I believe that they would have brought the Amazons. I think that was the time after Azzarello brought the Amazons back. So Charles his storyline would have been after that. So I think yeah, he would have went to the island to meet Hippolyta and the other Amazons, and that would have kicked off that Wonder Woman event or you know whatever Charles had in mind. Which yeah, we definitely should have gotten that. It's you know that would have been much better than Tomasi's Wonder Star waste.
Yeah, or it's making that the new 52 Donna. That would have been interesting.
Right.
It's it. I really just really think that Wonder Star would not have happened if Charles were involved. But still, I'll ask him about that if we ever interview him. Which, by the way, Charles, if you're watching this and want to come on the show, we'd love to have you. But so the other things that I would really do with this is like, so we do power couple with General Zod. We actually do that here, and we can even have it where the entire Kryptonian armada like invades. Like maybe on Earth 2 they weren't all destroyed, kind of like Man of Steel. And it's like Superman has to choose between Earth and his wife at this point. Yes, I'm retconning it that at some time between JSA and this movie they get married, and he has to choose between that and his people. And then Diana says, "Do what feels right in your heart. I trust you."
Oh,
And
you
then
see,
obviously he chooses Earth.
you see, that is why I boohoo every day. Cause you read the most.
It's too easy.
It is. I mean,
It's
I'm
for those that don't know. So the way Brit and I work on the Shelterverse is that I'll send her ideas and lines, and the way I can normally gauge if it's a good one is I'll get either the crying cat emoji, GIF, or the gif of the boy collapsing down the floor and crying, and then Brit will like send me, "This is so romantic," or "God damn it, Jared." And I'm like, okay, it's a good idea. It's gotten to the point where I don't consider it a productive day unless I get those gifts once. So what I'll do, because because I'll send her an idea in the morning before she wakes up. That way she wakes up and then she's like, "Jared, I should not be crying right now."
I mean, it's slept in the morning because you're an hour ahead. So it's kind of like, of course, the timing. And it's like, as soon as I wake up, and just get the day started or whatever, then I check my phone or my tablet, and it's like, here we go. I have a message from Jared. And wait, what's worse is in the middle of the day when I have the headphones in my ear. And you know how the iPhone will give you, like, it will say the notification, like Siri will talk it out. So it will say message from X, or notification from X, or whatever it says, and it says Jared. And then it will start reading out what you said. And I'm like, first I have to read it, and then it's read to me. It's kind of like, wow, Jared, thank you for this. So I can be in the middle of the store or something, and it just started reading your message and reading the dialogue. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is so emotional. This is so sweet and romantic. And honestly, like, just how to write their relationship, and then watching Crisis 3 and how, Clark is basically about to cry and caressing her cheek. It forms together to how we are writing them. And it's
And
like,
by the
oh,
way, I got an idea.
of course you did. So it's like, let me finish this. So it's like, oh, we are, grasping, and it's not just a headcanon thing. So many which is, it's not a problem at all. But you still want to
When you treat
convey.
headcanon as its actual canon, in fact, that's when I
Exactly.
draw the line at that.
Exactly. So how we convey it is, of course, we are going to rewrite or fill in the gaps of these stories, but we're also taking what was already established. So the way we write Clark and Diana's relationship, how loving Clark is to Diana, or how Diana sees Clark as, when she calls him love, my Clark, or something like that, we are actually writing how, they are, the foundation was already built within the comics or within the animation. And honestly, Shelterverse, I would say that at first I had still to give us an quote unquote animated type visual, it was the Tuckerverse versions, but now with part 3 of Crisis and how that was, now I see more of the animated version of
Well, yeah, because this
that.
version, they're a little bit closer in age to how we wrote Clark and Diana, I think.
Yeah, they are. Like I said, I think on the TomorrowVerse wiki, it was Diana at age 34. Well, she said a
But in
millennial,
terms of as far as
but
we know, she's 34.
yeah. And Clark, he seems a little bit older, so I would say that I would really put him at 40. But
But
honestly,
in our universe, he's immortal too. Let's just establish that
yeah,
right
yeah.
there. The other thing that obviously I do is that whenever I like wrote Dana, I wrote her with that accent that she and Gal have.
Right. That is another thing, is with Tuckerverse, Rosia Dawson, yeah, she gave Diana, it wasn't the exotic voice, but it still gave her a little bit of the sultry feel.
It's in terms of her speech patterns and how she says things. Granted, it's still her voice. She still has like an American accent, but it's a little bit more with the way she speaks that it still sounds exotic.
Right. So that works for Diana. I would, if you have to have her with an American accent, have somebody, I guess, that can really convey a sultry tone. To that it feels exotic, you know.
Well, it's like Stana, who voices Wonder Woman. I think she has an American accent, but it's like she does she basically does her Talia al Ghul accent with Diana, which, by the way, yes, she voiced Talia in the Arkham series, also did well. But again, it works more. It's for some reason she actually. It's because my friend Nick, his problem with like Gal Gadot having the accent is that now all the Amazons have Israeli accents. So I kind of get that, but I guess, I mean, I deal with it because at least Wonder Woman has an accent. And I like how that's one thing that has been consistent. It's just you at least try and make it sound Greek.
Yeah. I mean, even if they can get an actress that is actually Greek, will be, you know,
that could work.
You know, something like that. I would want Diana to still continue on with being exotic. To go from Gal to a straight up American, you know, I don't really like that. So keep going with the finding an actress that has the exotic accent and that can act, that can look the part of Diana. It is going to be difficult to find maybe an actress that, because the way Diana's appearance, she looks as a model. So, and some of the fan casts I see is very much just models instead of actresses. So if you can find an actress that has that build of a model, that's tall, that, you know, that you can build up her physique, that can give, you know, Diana's physique, and can still give us the exotic accent. Now, is that asking for too much? Maybe. But at the same time, you know, just look, it's not that hard to find someone, you know, within that range. You just have to look international instead of just continuing on recycling the same American actresses, you know. But yeah, with Diana, I don't know really if I can trust James Gunn, because even within
if he's going for nostalgia, I'm terrified he's just going to cast another white woman that doesn't have an accent.
Which I really hope not, because Diana is so much more than that now in present day. She is supposed to represent the exotic type, the one that stands out. You know, as we was talking before, we started recording. You know, Diana with the tan, with the sun-kissed skin. Even, like I said, no, we're joking, but as far as wearing the bodysuit, even the bodysuit style of and body image of Beyonce, you know, that sort of look, I'm pretty sure you can find someone else that has that same body image, and it pretty much similar to what Diana would look like in reality. But I don't know if James Gunn can, like you said, if he's going to go with just the basic American, which I don't think that at this time Diana should be that.
Yeah, but
See, here's the thing. I watched. I was someone came into, I think it was either my chat or Taladia's chat when we were talking about this, and I was talking about how like Creature Commando's got to show before Wonder Woman. This got to show before Wonder Woman, and then this person commented like, "Who cares? We know they're going to give her a Wonder Woman thing." But I'm like, here is my response: the order that you release these things communicates where your priorities lay, and. You see, here's the thing. James Gunn is known for doing the obscure comic book characters. And you know what? That's cool. That's his niche. And you're allowed to have your preferences. It's just when you're the head of the studio now and your first project's like Creature Commandos, which, by the way, the trailer looks cringe as hell. But anyway, this isn't a Creature Commandos discussion. The point is, when you obviously show that you have more preference toward the lesser known characters, when Booster Gold, when Adam Strange, when the Authority is getting a project before Wonder Woman, she's supposedly the third your third pillar of DC, Superman being one and Batman being the other. I don't rag on those because they're getting projects. Hell, Superman is the starting thing, but you don't give Diana everything, because you could say Paradise Lost, but a project that features Diana in the modern day interacting with superheroes, a project actually labeled Wonder Woman, I'm sorry, that is abysmal.
The fact that Sergeant Rock
Yeah.
gets a movie before Wonder Woman is ridiculous. I mean, she...
And then someone brought up she didn't be well, we got in the DCEU, we got Suicide Squad before Wonder Woman. Yeah, but Wonder Woman literally showed up in BVS.
Right. That's a total different thing, because that was a movie that's still, adjacent. That's more of adjacent. But your main focus was introducing Wonder Woman, and her movie still came out a year after BVS, though. Like, that was still priority. And so DCEU has its problems. We know that. But Wonder Woman was still a priority. Wonder Woman was successful. Wonder Woman carried DCEU on her back. Basically.
That was literally a meme. Someone took that panel of Trinity where she's holding Batman and Superman on her shoulders and says, yes, this is the current state of the DCEU. And you know what? It was totally true. And
it was true.
It wasn't necessarily her fault because WB screwed the pooch with BVS by making him cut out all that stuff. But beyond that, the point is, as it stood, yeah, Wonder Woman was kind of putting together. And then you screw up with 1984.
Right. But still, how can one movie mess up Wonder Woman and you say she's a risk, or just basically judge or whatever and think that she's going to fail, when you've given Superman tons of chances and his movies barely make their expectations, if at all? Batman, of course, Batman is Batman, whatever. But Superman, you have all of these canceled projects, or if he does have projects, Superman only lives basically on TV shows, and even those, the ratings aren't bad, but they're basically middling, and very much within just a niche. It's not like Superman is just this popular character, as we know. Even his comic books are barely in the 50K range. So for you to say that Wonder Woman is a risk after seeing how she can carry DCEU, but then you start your universe off with, yeah, Superman is the first hero, whatever, so you think that you can start off with him. Sure. But at the same time, Wonder Woman should have at least been the second, project or whatever. If you're going to have Batman with his Bat family and Brave and the Bold introducing Damian, that's that. Yeah. Supergirl, I just do not agree. Supergirl should have had a movie, not a theatrical release film. I would think that Supergirl should have been on HBO Max or something. But Wonder Woman, If you're going to introduce a female character, she should have been the first, not Supergirl. I that is my stance. I really don't care. Um, and just the way that I feel about Superman in general right now because of his fans, yeah, I really don't care about that. Wonder Woman being shafted yet again in live action is just a no-go for me. And like this whole episode is pretty much about emphasizing TomorrowVerse Diana of finally getting, the respect she deserves, and how Jim Craig made that happen, but yet he's moving on. I guess his contract with WB was not renewed. So the one producer and writer that gave Wonder Woman respect is leaving, and now we're right back where we were, stuck with who's the next guy, and is he going to give Wonder Woman the respect she deserves? And then you have James Gunn taking over everything, where this is why the Tomorrowverse pretty much was um, a mess, because they felt like whatever Gunn was going to do, he did stop a few things. He stopped them adapting Kingdom Come. So we don't know what else was, stopped or had to be changed for whatever he has planned, So it's just very questionable on how do we, I guess, how are we all supposed to be hyped or have this optimism when Wonder Woman is kind of like a slim chance to none of her getting the respect she deserves?
Yeah, and that's my point, because let me put it this way. I would be more in line with the Gunverse if they showed more of a care for Wonder Woman. And they're clearly not. But anyway, if they treated her like Tucker, I almost said Tucker. Man, that's a Freudian slip. Like Craig treated Wonder Woman, then I would be like, okay, you know what? You are showing love for Diana, because I think it's pretty obvious that Brit and I love Wonder Woman as a character. Hell, she's one half of the title of the show, so I better like her. But it's like, you need to sell me more on your love for Wonder Woman. Like Craig sold me from World War II, because I'm like, okay, you know what? This is the badass Wonder Woman that I want, not a mouthpiece. And then he earned my loyalty with Crisis, because again, here's how jaded Brit and I are. Each part of Crisis, we were like, are they going to screw it up? Are they going to screw it up? Because remember,
Right.
DCAMU was essentially, she started off good and then ended up being a mouthpiece. She was never a mouthpiece in this universe.
Exactly. Every time, and with the even with Warworld, with the hand on the chest thing, it was kind of like, oh my God, what is the um how is it executed? What is the dialogue? It's kind of like, oh my God, what is going to happen? And then you get this very cute scene, and it's kind of like, oh, we kind of jumped the gun or whatever. And then we get to Crisis. And of course, you see the trailer of Earth 2 Superman is here and Wonder Woman. So you know that, okay, maybe this is her Superman. And oh my God, how are they going to interact? And of course, they are going to bring in Lois or something like that. So it's like, is Earth 2 Superman and Earth 1 Superboy, are they going to just interact with Lois and Diana basically be put in the background? Or are they going to have this awkwardness with them? No. Part 1, it was Clark and Diana having a kiss, and also Clark and Diana having a kiss before Clois did. And
I love that. That was so great.
and also just the fact that Clark and Diana's relationship just seems so much more genuine than, Clois and even Diana and Steve's. Like I said, Steve seemed more like a lovesick puppy hanging around Diana that had a crush on her. She didn't convey her her feelings as she did so openly with Clark. It seemed like she was calling Clark her love and everything like that, and just they were just far more affectionate towards each other than, you know, Diana with Steve. And then even with Earth One, Superboy and Lois, it just felt like they had to do it because that's what's expected. But it just seemed like they didn't really have a relationship. Like it wasn't a romantic relationship at all. Um, yeah, so again, for Clark and Diana to have this progression, and yeah, it was a lot that we missed off screen, but at the same time, what we got was far more, you know, acceptable, and we adore that far more than the Tuckerverse. The Tuckerverse did start off well, you know, with Throne of Atlantis, of them having the kiss and the date, but again, you throw in Lois to have a monkey wrench in it, then the date scene of Justice League versus Teen Titans, that started off cute, but then Clark is possessed by a demon. Um, then after that, honestly, that's it. I would say that Clark and Diana being possessed by demons in the Justice League versus Teen Titan movie is why they ended up the way they were in Death of Superman, being antagonistic towards each other. It's kind of like they were still
Mhm.
having the um, demons within them or something, or maybe they played body snatchers. I don't know, but yeah.
Or it's like Injustice. But anyway, I think that that is a good place to leave this episode. So now let me ask you this, Britt, before we wrap up, actually.
hmm
What's your favorite Tomorrowverse movie?
I would say
Not Green
Crisis Part.
Lantern.
Definitely not. I would say Crisis Part 3. Well, the whole trilogy, but for that ending,
With the
and
music and the tears.
yeah, Crisis Part 3. Um, I would say the second, of course, is the JSA film, because it is, even though Barry was also kind of like the co-lead or main protagonist, it was still Diana introducing her as the leader. Um, then I would say Warworld, I would give it, is a way bottom three, because it was an interesting concept. It just wasn't executed as smoothly. And I would love to see more cowgirl Diana, and I guess the war world of them fighting. Like I said, it just, the execution wasn't right, and the black and white, whatever verse that was, that's actually a very interesting verse. You know, to have a DC movie in black and white would have been cool.
Yeah, exactly. That would have been actually that would have been actually really cool. And I like kind of where they get to like the real world and Clark is marveling at color. He's like, "Oh wow." So
Yeah.
that was one of the cool parts. So for me it's Crisis 3, Superman, Man of Tomorrow, World War II, Warworld, and Green Lantern. I'm only kidding. Batman.
Yeah, Batman is Batman, so I'm not gonna give him any more, you know. I love the Batcat
Because
part,
I love
but
Bad Cat. That's why. And you know what? That's actually done really well with that. I
yeah.
love the line at the end when Alfred answers the door and Barry and Ollie are there. And then Alfred goes, "It's for you, sir."
You know, also, now that you bring up Green Arrow, they
Oh, in
really
Crisis
had
Part 3,
that,
when he met actual Dinah.
and they were flirting too. So you really, you Jim Craig and the producers really gave respect, or to different relationships, and it was like, wow, we actually got relationships, and it
Or at
it
least
was,
homages to them.
yeah, it was actually a good thing, you know, and especially for of course they're going to respect traditional relationships, but for you to have focus primarily on a relationship that everyone acts like and again, this is from a tweet that says that Super Wonder is a sin among men. I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna be
Oh
sinning
God.
then. But yeah, for this relationship to be an important focus and to actually get the respect. On top of that, we see that Diana with Clark does not reduce her. And just her overall respect. And again, you still convey that pretty much the most important people to Diana is her mother and her best friend. And that is a true Wonder Woman story. And I hope that we can get that again. It's going to be a slim chance, but we can always have hope.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. But so let's continue on. So I think that's a good place to wrap this up. So Brit, do you have anything you would like to tease us with?
All right. So I am finishing up, putting a few more touches on chapter 1 of the story that Jid has inspired. I had to watch a lot of talk shows
Oh
to
God.
convey, what I'm trying to get at. And how if you watch talk shows, how the interviewer, especially those like The View, The Talk, whatever, those shows really try to get in your business. And again, this story is about basically the paparazzi or the public questioning Diana's womanhood and her views of how women are supposed to be in society, and also motherhood. So for this first chapter, it really delves into those kind of women with on these shows that's very controversial, and just how Diana handles that, and having the support of Clark, of course. Then we have Shelterverse. Well, yeah, Shelter chapter 2 touches on that, and chapter 4 of Athens touches on that, and those will be out soon. And I'm so excited for you to read them fully, Jared, before we share them out, because I want to have your genuine reaction for all the times that you've made me boohoo. I want you to boohoo too, so we can be boohooing together. But and all of our just Shelterverse is growing, and the stories that we are building to share out in all of our rewrites, and also yes, TomorrowVerse, Earth 2 rewrite. I can't wait for that because I already have the ideas in my head, and of course, yes, they will make you boohoo because this couple made us boohoo within the movies. So yeah, and I also just want to appreciate everyone for supporting the Instagram. It continues to grow and everything like that. And yeah, we're just gonna keep moving and striving and soaring up.
Hell yeah. So stay heroic, everyone. Remember, Lois Lane is Lois Lane. She belongs with General Zod. Zoe is the Max about for life. We will see you later.